So this is my favorite history curriculum that we've been using for about 20 years. And lucky me, I have another at least 10 years because our youngest is 8, maybe not 10 years. But while we travel, we use this half the time. So we on adventures and we're traveling, and we recently went to Mesa Verde, Chimney Rock, Salmon Ruins, Aztec Ruins. And so I can't do this full time because while we're traveling, I want to do other things. But this also has taught me how to really engage in all those other things. So Tapestry of Grace is a 4-year program with 4 units per year. This is 1 unit of the teacher's guide. This is all digital now too, but I would recommend if you're first starting, buy 1 hard copy or print off 1 hard copy so that you can really get your hands on it if you're that kind of person. So there's so much to love about this. I'm gonna need a 5-hour video for this. So Tapestry covers history, writing, literature, geography, fine arts activities, super cool, including unit celebrations and stuff, church history, government, and for the older kids, philosophy. She calls it like a pre-K to adult program because everyone can learn using this program. It's really super fantastic. So it can be a little bit daunting because with this 1 unit, which is about 9 weeks, we're doing ours in 18 weeks. These are all the books that go with it. And it's a lot. And the reason I have these books is because I've been doing this for 20 years, and you gather and you build books. At one time, I had a library of about 5,000 books. I stopped counting. It was ridiculous. But I can't do that anymore because we're on the road full time. So instead of having giant totes for each of my units, this is all I get to bring with me when we're on the road. This is 1 Tapestry unit and has to all fit in here. So I have to kind of go through, obviously that doesn't all fit in here. It gets tucked in some other boxes. But I have to do some triage also. And then I have these books because we've been doing this for 20 years. And I don't know if you know, 20 years ago, audiobooks were very expensive. Very few free reads online. And so I had to purchase these books. But you don't have to do that. There's tons of audio, video, YouTube. There's all kinds of options for that. But what I like about these are real books instead of a textbook that's taken 20 years to get through the cycle, to be approved, to get into a school. These are classic books. And we're on year 2, unit 4, which is the Revolutionary War. And I really wish we were traveling up the Northeast. But we already went up the Northeast 2 summers ago. So I've been showing the kids the videos of when we were at the Liberty Bell, the Statue of Liberty. We walked through the whole Freedom Trail in Boston with some other traveling friends. And so we watched all these videos and pictures of when we were in these places. We're reading about Benjamin Franklin right now. So we looked at Boston, New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey. He landed on the Jersey Shore. We went to the Jersey Shore. A little bit different than when Benjamin Franklin was there. But this curriculum really connects to traveling. It's super fun. So like for this one, we've got Johnny Tremaine, also a movie. Somebody's also done this online, YouTube. You can listen to this. You don't have to buy the book. The Sign of the Beaver, a movie. Early Thunder, not a movie, but an audio. The Arrow Over the Door, it's a short read. It's a fun to read aloud. The Matchlock Gun, also free on YouTube to listen to. Justin Morgan Had a Horse, old movie. Amos Fortune Free, super cool. And then What Happened, Paul Revere. There's a bunch of books in here about Paul Revere because this pile here, this is my upper grammar and lower grammar, which is elementary. These are like the junior high books. These are the high school books. And so because I've been doing this a long time and I know my kids pretty well, I brought all of them with me. And then as we progress through our weeks, I kind of blend, like for my oldest, I blend the rhetoric and dialectic depending on what else is happening that week. And then for the little kids, I just love all these books. I love the stories that I've read with my other kids. And I hope we don't miss any of them. I can't read aloud that much as a homeschooler. This is my confession. I just don't like reading out loud. and it's so slow. I'm a very fast reader, so you have to slow way down to read it. But in Tapestry, I can mix and match. I can pull things that I know they'll love. And like all my little guys in this group are boys, so we might skip Emma's journal and some girly things if we don't have enough time. But there's art included. It's super cool. So it makes it really easy. You open this book to the week, and she has an overview for the week. And you can, I have a friend who reads all these pages for the teacher, and I did some of that the first year, but 20 years in, I can kind of skip through these beginning pages. Then the first, it's all color coded. So if you like colors, you're gonna like this. So the first section is purple, and it is the highlights for the week for each subject that you're doing. And I can look through those by level and think about what I want my kids to do. You kind of have to look through the whole unit because some of it builds on each other. You're going to be making a costume, so you have to do the art activity each week. Otherwise, on week 9, you're like trying to cram in, getting that costume done. You really want to do a little bit each week. And it tells me what we're doing in geography. Geography is my favorite. Geography and literature are my favorite of these, so we don't skip those. The next section is the book list. There's the current book list, and then these are if you have older books on hand or you want a little bit of enrichment. The first year we did Tapestry, it was overwhelming. We all thought we had to go buy all these books, and then we realized, well, for co-op we're only going to read one book a week for literature, and some of these are multiple week books. You take 3 or 4 weeks to read some of them. And then in the older levels, as we progressed in co-op, we would let them help pick one literature book for the unit, and we would really dive in a little deeper. So it's super flexible. I can't tell you enough. It might seem overwhelming, but you could start one unit and you could take all year. If you have a first grader, you could take all year to do one unit and do everything in that unit. It'll help you figure out what your kids like and don't like, or that kid, and what you like and don't like. And it gives you time to start gathering resources. And this is a resource-rich program. But if you don't have them all, you can still move through it. It's really, really cool. So I don't know how to turn that dinging sound off on my phone. So some of the things, like, it includes coloring book. So you don't have to buy the coloring book. You can do the work and go online and find printable resources where you can print off pictures. But then it has, instead of just reading Paul Revere's Ride in a history textbook, you get this really beautiful version of Paul Revere's Ride, which isn't actually true, by the way. It's a poem written much later. So it's got philosophy, where this seems like a really big book, but this big book is 4 years of high school philosophy, where you're reading a page to 10 pages in a week, and it gives you great discussion options for your kids and gives a really holistic view on philosophy as you go through the ages. The same with, there's church history. There's a really easy book for the little kids, a medium book for the middle kids, and then this really intense church history book for big kids. So as a parent, if you start reading these with your little kids, because you have little kids to start with, your knowledge is going to just grow as they grow. It's so fun. I can't even tell you how fun it is. So anyways, back to this program. They also have a writing section where they give you ideas for writing for each week. And in this particular unit, Unit 4, there's a newspaper assignment. And when we've done co-op together, we've had the all the grade levels come in and write. And one time a friend knew some printers, and so we had these big newspapers for the kids at the end of the unit. It was so fun. So we alternate between Institute for Excellence in Writing and the Writing and Tapestry, kind of depending on what she has in the unit and if we're co-oping with people. Co-oping is really fun, but when you travel, it's really hard. So then at the beginning of the week, you move to the blue pages, and this is your general outline for the week. You can read it to yourself to get a holistic view of what you're going to be learning about. I have friends who read it to their kids. I, at this point in my life, just skip it. So Then, and the other blue pages, they are listed by age level, grade levels. So you have lower grammar, upper grammar, dialectic, and rhetoric. And they each have a list of activities they're supposed to do for each of the subjects. And then most often, it'll have a little literature worksheet. And the other way to be flexible with the literature worksheet, especially for the younger kids, is to do it out loud. And you're teaching them how to do a literature worksheet. So what I try to teach is you read the literature worksheet first. So before you read the book, you know what you're looking for. And you come back to this literature worksheet at the end of each chapter, see if you can answer a question, and go to the next questions so that this is easier when you're done. And I try to get my kids to do that in dialectic and rhetoric, like the high school level. And I don't know why they would do that. It'd make it way easier. Okay, so that goes through each age level. And then at the end, it's just all of the answers. Every answer that you're looking for is in the book for this unit. Let me show you 1 week's worth of pages. And that's why if you have the digital version, it's pretty easy because you don't have to flip through the pages. You can just go right to what you're looking for. Okay, so let me get this here. There's also a unit overview, so it gives you an idea of what your unit celebration is. Like these are the pages for 1 week, which seems probably like a lot. But it's also, remember, it's a lot of subjects. You're doing entwined in all of these threads. You're bringing your tapestry together, and it makes for a really rich experience. So for my older kids, when we went to New England, they'd already done this unit. And at the time they were 14 and 15. They'd already done this unit, and so they were seeing all these places, some of which they'd seen on a different trip. But for my little kids, all those places were new, and now that we're doing this unit, we can go back and see the videos, which is super cool. So then for Tapestry is what I do is I set up a notebook for me, Sue, and I put in all the copies that I'm going to need for the week. My high school and dialectic kids, they get all their copies in their notebook. But for my upper grammar and lower grammar kids, the copies go in my notebook because it's weird, but they lose them. And then I have to go online and reprint everything. So I keep the copies until that week, and I give them their copy as we go for literature worksheets, geography, if I do any fun vocabulary stuff or our timeline stuff or lat books. I keep all of those in my notebook that I hand out as we go for the week. And I also print the teacher's map because, what did I do with it? Oh, here it is. For my little kids who struggle with penmanship, I have a little light board, and I put the teacher's map on the light board, tape their map over it, and they trace those places. And then we have a big sheet map of the world and the United States and puzzle maps. We travel with those because I, again, like geography a lot. So while these books can seem daunting to get, I print off the book list. And if I get a little closer, you can see it's color coded. And I write down which books I have. Some of the books I know I don't want. Especially if it's like a lower grammar book, because now if there's a new lower grammar book, I'm not coming back to lower grammar again because my youngest is 8. And so I'll buy anything in dialectic, but I'm also not buying books very much. I'm buying audio and Kindle things now because they travel better and they don't get lost. I don't have to store them anywhere. It's really fun. But I write down if there's a movie for that particular thing, like Jack is reading Gulliver's Travels, and where we watched a Ted Danson series, like 2-part series on Gulliver's Travels, and then we watched Jack Black's Gulliver Travels, which was much funnier, obviously. But it just connecting, so for your visual learner and for your kid who's not really good at pronouncing names, sometimes you might want to watch the movie first, so when they come across names in a book of places, they'll have heard those names, so when they're reading, it makes the reading just a little bit easier. And for some kids, they do not want to watch the movie first. They want to watch it after they finish the book, because everyone knows, if you're a reader, the movie's never as good as the book. So I used to be very concerned about my kids understanding all the concepts of everything. And we had a neighbor who was a college professor at a private college that taught medieval history and languages. And he told us one day while we're sitting around the pool, he said, it's more important for kids to understand the concept of Beowulf than it is for them to read it in Old English. The reason it's a classic story is because of the story, not because it was written in Old English. And so that's what I like about Tapestry. For each subject, they have pulled out some classic books, and when new books come along, they add those to it. If somebody writes a really great new book, they've also gone through and edited, and in some of the book lists, it'll say, on these pages, there's some inappropriate information. Or like, you know, if you're super conscious of the art with naked people, then you'll want to pay attention during this lesson. So I don't care about that, but it's really nice of them to put those little caveats out there to help parents who care about that. So the worldviews and church history, they go through all the religions of the world as you're going through. And as a Christian, I really love that, because as you look at all these religions where the goal is for you to do better, to move up, we have been saved by grace. And I love that. And it teaches that in here, which is super fantastic. It also has church history, and it's really brutal. If you haven't read a lot of church history, it's very violent, and it's interesting. And a lot of the church history is based on money and politics, which is super fascinating. So back to the kids' notebook. I know, I love this, and I get lost. So I make a little notebook for each of them, and I've done this in a variety of ways over the last 20 years. And about year 10, I came up with this, where each kid has one cardstock for the week, then their lessons for the week, then a slipcover for anything they might add for their week, and their map. Everything they do for that week goes in this section. So here's his map. We're on the first day of this, but if we did lap books or coloring pages, we could glue them here or put them in here. Anything the kids make that fits in here can go in here. But then this notebook, the beauty of this being the Tapestry notebook, I also put their science stuff in this week. We're going to be doing some astronomy and botany as we travel. And so that will go in this week, so they can kind of go back through the unit. But then in the back of this notebook, I have their spelling, phonics, math, and other things that it makes it easy. This is all I need for the week for them to make sure that this is out. And it's really fun, and they love it. I have a lot of games that go with this. She lists games in the curriculum. There's some games they've made up that you can print out. Super fun. You just need like dice or little markers for some of the games. Some of them have little characters, but it's a lot. I agree, it's a lot. However, it's totally worth it. So is how this curriculum has taught me to travel. Is we're going to be in Southwest Colorado. There's the Ute Reservation. We're close to the Navajo Reservation. There's a lot of mining history here because the gold mines in Silverton, silver mines, different things like that. So we have been reading about those things. We have been going to visit those things. And this next week, when we leave here, we're going to add those things to our timeline. And it's just helps you be really holistic. So you're looking for literature and movies and art, crafts and stuff to do based on what you're learning. And I've learned how to do that really well with Tapestry on any topic. So I hope you'll give it a look, and I'll put the link in there for you to look at. And if you have any questions, please ask me, because again, this is my favorite. And once you get started, you never have to change, and you can adapt it for your kids. The first year we did it, I had one kid read all the dialectic books, like every page that was listed in the, this didn't come in color back in the day, it was just black and white, but she would read every book in her column that I had. I had another kid who was like, just, what do I have to read? So some kids just have to read literature and a little bit of history, and other kids can read everything. It just gives you that flexibility. So if you have kids of multiple ages, I highly recommend this, because you won't have to keep learning new things. You can learn your child and how they fit into the curriculum rather than the other way around. So it's a classical model. If you're wondering what kind of model this is, it's a classical model. You can do a ton of memorization with this if your kids are into this, or you can just enjoy the history part and let that flow take care of itself. So look it up.